Welcome, everybody. This is our conversation with Lupe, Romo-Zendejas for the California Department of Education, Early Education and Support Division. We are going to be talking today about the childcare pilot plan. So welcome, Lupe. Take over.
Thank you, Ericka, for putting this together. I know that everybody is anticipating, getting more direction about the pilots, and so we have been, unfortunately, David Rood, who is the lead on the pilot projects, is out on extended leave, and so we are trying to get as much information out as possible. So I really appreciate Ericka for putting this on for everyone. What I'm going to provide to you is a brief overview of where we currently are. So with that said, as part of the signing message that the governor gave when he signed the most recent legislation on the 9 pilot counties, his message was, the state has approved pilot programs for 13 counties that allow providers in these counties flexibility in child care programmatic requirements to allow them to earn more of their contract funding. The administration supports providing counties with flexibility to serve more families in subsidized child care programs and has begun working with stakeholders to streamline and alleviate burdensome requirements to the pilot. Oops. I don't know why this is. So basically, we have been meeting with the governor's office. A bunch of stakeholders have been meeting with the governor's office, and there is some more trailer bill language that's being proposed by the governor. We'll cover that a little bit more as we go. So what I'm going to provide you right now is the requirements as they currently stand in legislation. So again, the pilots allow flexibility of some of the requirements for our Title V programs. First thing that's needed in the plan is you need to identify the county's goals for its subsidized system. Is the needs assessment to help identify the county's goals for the subsidized child care system. And so the data points for this, and there's a list in the education codes associated with each pilot. This is one of the areas that we are looking to streamline. So the data points that are currently in the in legislation or in the education code may be updated with the trailer bill language. Okay, the next one. So where we can ask for flexibility, or where the pilots can ask for flexibility, is eligibility. You have flexibility in the eligibility requirements. This includes age, family size, time limits, income level, special needs considerations. What it does not include is priority. You cannot change priority for services. So just wanted to make that, because that's one of the areas that we get that a lot of questions come in on. So next one. So the other one is reimbursement rates, and that currently includes the standard reimbursement rates, regional market rates. It does not currently include adjustment factors. That's one of the areas that I believe the budget trailer bill will also be addressing. Another one is clarification on the regional market rates. Apparently, there was never an intent to include the regional market rates, so Department of Finance is changing some language there. It hasn't been, the regional market rate has not been a rate that has been included in any pilot plan so far. Go ahead. So then the other intent is to maximize the efficient use of funds. One of the things in this area is voluntary transfer. It allows contractors to transfer between contracts to better utilize their funding for the county. There are rules that go along with that, and you need to work closely with your fiscal services office. So basically, those are the components of the plan, the requirements. The next slide shows what has been requested so far. I know this is really tiny and you're probably not going to be able to read it. I will provide Ericka with a copy of it. But basically, it shows you, for example, San Mateo, eligibility, initial eligibility, income eligibility for the state is currently set at 70%. All the counties have requested 85% of SMI, so that's pretty standard. We have 24-month eligibility across most of the counties. So there's different things that you'll notice on the bottom, the different reimbursement rates. That's the most complicated part of the pilot plans, because you really need to work with fiscal services to determine what the unspent funds are and what funding source they come from, because some funds are more flexible than others. So those are the current rates for the existing counties pilots. So just kind of as comparison, what has already been approved, samples of what already has been approved. So as part of the streamlining, we had several recommendations. They wanted to provide an on-ramp opportunity for new contractors entering the county. So basically what it was included, one of the things that may be included in the trailer bill is some on-ramping for those that didn't at the onset of the plan, the contractors that didn't opt in have later on an ability to do so. Utilization of already existing needs assessment reports. So what you'll see is a streamlined data, the data points that you need for your needs assessment. So it's allowing you to use the local planning council as well as the R&R and making it hopefully more accessible to you, that information. We're also, one of the things was using templates to streamline the plan submittal and review process and the annual reporting process. So once the budget trailer bill is passed, the department will be developing these templates in order that all counties can just, the idea is that you fill in the blanks of where you want the requirements to change, like for rates and for the length of eligibility, and then you submit it to us. And so it's more uniform. Of course, there'll be some options for additional exemptions because each county may be different. So another streamlining is reducing the reporting burden. So, and including a final comprehensive report. The recommendation included reports in year 1, 3, and 5 instead of an annual report, and then we could consolidate the report. Again, there will be templates, so we're hoping to have this online submittal so that we can consolidate and provide one comprehensive report at the end of the pilot sessions. It allows for plan approval prior to any reimbursement rate changes. One of the challenges that we have been experiencing is that it takes a while to actually figure out the reimbursement rates, because it's dependent on unspent funds, and it's a real burdensome process. So what we're going to be allowing is submittal of the plan. We'll approve the elements for eligibility, for rates, I mean not rates, the eligibility criteria that you want to change, and then the rates would follow as a modification in the following year. And also there was a recommendation to allow changes to the reimbursement adjustment factors. So currently that wasn't allowed, but one of the recommendations is we do allow that. So basically where we are now, that's the last slide. where we are now is that we're waiting for the budget trailer bill to see the budget trailer bill language. I know that the governor's office has been putting together, working with the Ledge Council to put it together. I do not have a bill number yet. I can provide that as soon as I have one. But basically, from what I'm understanding, they're consolidating all the articles into one article. So right now there's, I think, 6 different articles, one for each piece of legislation that was passed, with the exception of San Mateo and San Francisco, which are no longer pilots. The other pilot counties have been consolidated into one section or one article of education code. So we'll be all operating under the same requirements. That's basically all I have for you at this point. If there's any questions, I can field some for you now.
Thank you so much, Lupe. I'm going to ask everybody if you have any questions, if you can type on the chat there that you have a question so I can unmute you, would be great. But I have some questions already, and I can start. And when you say that the priority would not be included, like in terms of the qualification for childcare, I think I saw that sibling priority that was approved, I think, for Alameda, so that would not be included anymore?
Siblings are, no, you can't do a sibling priority. Actually, your sibling priority isn't needed because when you enroll the family. So if you're not able to all the family at a given point, when you have vacancies, you can still enroll those families, the other children in the families. So
okay.
It's kind of like when we were doing, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's only because I saw at a table, but it was, and then
yeah, that was actually, it was included in their plan. It was an oversight on our part.
Oh, okay.
What we're saying is that you enroll families, you can enroll the entire family. Whether it's that you enroll them all at the same time or have to wait a few months. None of that has changed. That's currently available statewide.
So the other question is, all the LPC coordinators for the pilot counties, we have been in connection and exchange information, and because the streamlining also included, or at least what we have been discussing, when the pilot plan is approved, the change would only be made in the next fiscal year for the contract. That's what we have been hearing. So we are like, oh, we need to do everything, all the plans by May 1st in order to have this change implemented for our contractors for 18-19, the fiscal year. So with the trailer bill, templates, and etc., it seems that it's probably going to take longer, this process of creating our pilot plans. And let's say that we submit the pilot plan for our county like August 1st, like we had that deadline before, or I don't know if it's going to still be that deadline. If we submit after the fiscal year starts, can it be retroactive? How does it work? Or it's going to be only for 2020?
Well, again, I mean, it's kind of hard to retroactive a plan because
exactly.
So basically, I think what the bill will do is give the department some leeway in identifying the timelines for submitting a plan. So yes, we are also in that crunch about, well, if we don't get the plans by May, then, they may not be effective July 1st. However, a plan should be effective upon approval. the issue is getting the contracts to agencies. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. We'll have to wait till the budget trailer bill gets approved, and then we'll be working again on those timelines. But we're well aware that you want to get going on this as soon as possible, and we're going to work with everybody to make sure that that happens.
Okay. So, like, some counties, or I think all of us, are kind of like already, some of them are much ahead of, like, for example, IT Marin or Solano, and we are kind of, everything in our part also takes time. And then so if we don't start the process now, especially like, let's say, counties that don't have the capacity to do the plan in-house, they have to hire consultants and all the things and researchers and like some of us. So that contract, some of us are already doing that, and then perhaps the data requirement will change, and then things will change, like the template, and so is there any recommendation, like, do we move ahead and do the plan as the legislation is requiring now, or should we all wait? Because everything is like we are already building relationships with the contractors and hosting ad hoc committee meetings, and it's kind of so anyway. So we were discussing that yesterday at the LPC coordinators conference call, and we're like, it's hard. Like, should we go ahead and then continue the planning like legislation is saying right now?
Well, again, I think with that you're meeting with your contractors and you're building those relationships, I think is very, very important and should continue. What the hesitancy I have is that some of the data points are going to be changing. I believe that's going to allow you more flexibility to use the existing data points from the local planning councils. So said, any data that and it allows you flexibility to collect more data if you want. The point is that the data is to be used to support whatever it is that you're asking, for exemptions from, to support the plan. I think it's the formatting of the plan. I mean, you can develop, whether you want age to change age definitions, whether you want to change the SMI, where you change that to may be impacted by your needs assessment. But again, putting it down, I mean, you can have the conversations, you can have the plan conceptually. I just hate you to put a plan together and spend days and hours, put it through your county board of supervisors, and then have us submit a template, and then you're gonna have to go back and do that all over again. So there's where the hesitancy is. So again, as soon as the budget trailer bill hits, we'll know more. Okay, because I mean, at this point, it's all draft language, so I'd hate to say where we're going with just draft language.
Yeah, got it. And so can we expect to really include the reimbursement rate on the second year, because we are talking about with the contractors. So we are not going to include this in the first year. We are going to wait for the data regarding the impact of the state changes with the state budget, and also the changes we are going to make now in the first year to see how it impacts the money that we are returning to the state. But like, for example, if we go 2019, the data we are going to have from the previous year probably will not be available. Is it realistic to expect that we are going to really work on the reimbursement rates in the second year, or should it be more third year because of the data?
Yeah, and I don't think we're limiting you as to when. I think what we're saying is that we're going to set the timelines, but if you don't do it in the first year, I mean, you can't do it, 6 months later. You know what I'm saying? We'll have time frames for submitting modifications.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, whenever you want to submit what it looks like is that whenever you want to submit the rate modifications that are in line with whatever timelines that we set. I hope that
Got
makes
it.
sense.
Yeah. Okay, so my questions are over. If anyone else has any questions, if you can please indicate on the chat box that you have a question that I can unmute you, would be great. And if we don't have any questions, I think that we can adjourn our meeting. Let me see anyone. Well, we know that you're super available, Lupe. I want to thank you so much for all your attention. I heard from other LPC coordinators how you're super available and really respond to our questions and emails. Really appreciate all the attention and care that you and CG have been putting into this. I know it's a lot of work, and I know you have a lot to do. At this point, I don't have any other questions for anyone else. So we can basically end this session in this presentation, and I want to thank you so much again for taking the time to do this with us today. I'm going to show some highlights to my LPC here, Marin, for the general meeting that's this afternoon, but I also will make this available to other LPC coordinators so they can share with other members of the LPCs and then save you time so you don't have to go over all of this again with everybody.
Yes, and I do appreciate, Ericka, the opportunity to be able to share this information. I know it's been long coming. David has been out for a while, and so we've been kind of short-staffed, so trying to get as much done as we can. I appreciate your patience, and there will be more to come as the trailer bill gets processed. Hope to have that stuff out as quickly as we can.
Okay, great. Thank you so much again, and have a good rest of the day. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you.